Hello and welcome back to the Schooner Pod. I'm Bobby Howard. With me today, we've got Jameson and we've got Ty, as usual, here to recap a bit of an uninspiring victory for the Oklahoma Sooners, 16-12 over the Houston Cougars. Guys, this was a bit of a weird one. You know, when we started the show, obviously quite a different OU team, a lot of offense, a lot of, really the defense was awful, and there were times you're like, I just wish we had a little bit of defense. Yeah, that monkey's paw, it curled its finger, and this is what we get. So, a lot to talk about, a lot of gripes, I suppose, with this one. But Jameson, let's kick this thing off. On a scale of 1 to 10, how concerned are you?
Here's the thing. Let's frame this. Concerned that we're going to make the playoffs, a 9. No, because we're already pretty concerned week 1, but we're like, come on, it's Temple. But I think it's highly, highly unlikely that this team can make the playoffs the way that we are. If you're just talking in general, maybe a 7, because there's still some things that you feel like you can have hope for in terms of health. But there's also a lot of things that I'm scared that are probably not fixable.
Ty, what about you? Where are you at on the concern scale?
Yeah, I'm not too concerned, right? We all know what caused this. It was the alternate uniforms. We know we shouldn't wear those. They are cursed. They are, in fact, cursed. They're like, oh, we'll bring out different ones. The problem is alternate
This dude's wearing the Unity right now.
Just
show everyone the Unity.
Yes. And we would be on ESPN if I wore just a regular jersey. But here we are privately producing this because alternate uniforms are the cause of all the issues. But yeah, no, I'm not. I think I'm more optimistic than y'all, right? There's some issues. There's some key injuries. We'll get into all that. But, right, at the end of the day, we won, which is all that matters. So it's like we're on here complaining about a win, and then Houston, is getting to celebrate that they lost a football game because that's what their program has going for them. So I for one, am not too worried. I don't believe – right? Some people believe the hype, like, oh, this Tennessee looks scary. It's Tennessee. So,
Tennessee looks scary. That's wrong.
They did look scary, though. Like,
if they were that scary, their coach would be our coach because he desperately wanted to be. And we
bullied him out of town.
We ran him out of town because the last time our offense looked this bad was when he was running it.
It is true.
Well, Well, that's a separate thing, right? I've long said that any OU coach who loses to Josh Heupel should be fired on the spot. No excuses, no regardless of performance, but that's neither here nor there.
It's going to be a bad season.
It might be a bad season. We'll see. I think there's still room for improvement, but this offensive output, lowest scoring game against an unranked non-conference opponent since Jameson, can you guess when this was? When the last time the offense was this bad against an unranked non-conference team?
TCU was our last loss versus a non-ranked non-conference opponent. So is it that?
05. 10 points for that Sooner team. Rhett Bomar and Paul Thompson. So, it's not great. Not great. All right, let's just dive straight at just start diving into this. And look, it's got to start with the offense. Seth Luttrell, I don't know if it's the play calling, if it's the line, if it's Jackson Arnold, or a combination of all three. And I kind of think it's all three. What do you think?
Yes, I was spelling out yes on camera. It's everything. There's name some positives right now on the offense. I'll send it over to Goon or Ty. Give me some positives on the offense, Ty.
I will say, right, I don't know the stat on this off the top of my head, right? And obviously there's going to be pressure. I feel like on most plays, the line gave Arnold plenty of time.
Yeah, pass blocking was good.
So there's a positive, right? Other positives on the offense. We don't have to wear the alternates anymore.
Oh my God.
Other positives. I'm not that out on Arnold, right? We talked about this on I think our wide receiver room, right? When we get Nick Anderson back, I think you see a big leap there because I don't think Arnold had some issues with deep ball accuracy, maybe, but right, he was our deep ball threat alongside Farouk. So we'll see. But I think positives, one, we do have to mention, in all seriousness, I think the pass blocking was well above the college football average. For sure, he had plenty of time, and whether the issues with the pass game or with him or with the receivers, we'll dig into that. Obviously, run blocking, completely different story. Or maybe that's the running backs. Or maybe that's the running backs.
No,
so we'll
it's
see.
not the running backs. It's the pass blocking. I'll give it to you, Ty. I feel like they're doing a decent enough job. It's not exceptional to where I can be like, oh, let's give you praises and an award for this. No, it's doing decent enough. Arnold isn't quite there within his maturity as a quarterback. This is a guy who's started now 3 games as a quarterback. He's moving up in the pocket a little bit too much, and he's freaking out because obviously the wide receivers aren't getting open immediately. And that freaks him out, and he's not staying under composure. And this is a thing that he'll learn through time and making mistakes. But I think the offensive line has done just enough for the passing game.
And it's go ahead, Ty. You got it.
There was one more. Sorry, Jameson. I cannot believe I forgot.
Oh, the tight ends.
Positives. The tight ends.
Yeah, of
were
course.
The only competent position group on the field consistently.
I was hoping that you would hit that one, but you didn't. And I was excited to talk about it later this pod, but whatever.
I thought that's exactly what he was going with. But, shout out Jake Roberts, first touchdown as a Sooner. But no, I think it is clearly with the run defense, and it kind of falls apart a little bit when primarily the only running play we run is inside zone. And Branson Hickman being out has been, pretty bad, pretty devastating to, that line, especially in the middle. So it's one of those things. It's hard to judge this unit as a whole right now. I mean, it's game 2, but also just the injuries make it really damn impossible to, think like to think that this is going to be the unit the whole time. I think there still is some upside. There's still work to be done. I'm not calling quits on the personnel just yet, but what's going on right now is absolutely not cutting it.
And how are you going to expect for it to get exponentially better fast enough by the time SEC play comes into the equation? I just don't think that's a realistic expectation, because to get better as a unit, you need to be cohesive and get reps. And whenever you get reps, you have to get them in practice if you're not getting them in the games consistently. And unfortunately, we are so hurt right now that we also need to ride the fine line of how can we rest our guys at the same time as get them the experience. We already did the whole, mix match, baloney that we did in the week 1. And now it's at the point where it's like, we probably shouldn't have done that. We probably shouldn't have played Jaron Hatchett at center because he only has one arm. What are we going to do about this? And I don't expect things to get better because, Branson Hickman has a high ankle sprain. The average return to play on that is 2 to 3 weeks. You'd hope it's a little bit better in offensive lineman and non-skill positions. But he's not going to be 100% if he ends up playing next week and the following week. It's still going to take some time for him to come back. And then that's a guy where like the dominoes fall. Whenever Branson Hickman went out, the whole line shifted. So put him back in. What are we going to do? Hopefully it's just you take Josh Bates and his helmet out of here and we just go right back to what we were running in this game versus Houston.
That was awful, by the way. Just quite possibly one of the dumbest.
I wanted to throw something. Fake tough guy baloney.
Like how that there's nothing good that can come out of that. You're flagged 99.99% of the time, and the 0.01 was Eric Stryker and the Sugar Bowl in 2013. But that just it's the dumbest thing you can do, and it's just really frustrating to see a lack of discipline on that line. And I don't know, I'm not quite there with some of the Sooner fans saying Bedenbaugh should be gone, blah blah blah.
No.
But
what are we gonna do?
We're gonna get rid of an offensive coach.
No, I mean, it's not a great unit, and we haven't had an elite unit on the O-line since 2018. As a full unit, it hasn't been elite in a long time. That being said, I'm not ready to pull that ripcord just yet. But discipline, that's something that you got to fix. And hopefully Josh Bates is running some stairs this week.
Yeah, I think what it comes down to is all of this offense and this whole team, you try to like break it down. And I kind of going back to my old points, like how can we get better? And you look at the second unit, and we kind of said this last game, guys. Do we really see much of a drop off whenever some of the second unit came in for the offensive line? I didn't see anything significant whenever I was watching. Logan Howland once again had great snaps. I'm just not like super convinced that there's going to be a drop off where it's like, oh, if we just put Howland in for Tarquin and then we get Branson Hickman healthy, all of our woes are going to go away. I think that where we are is this offensive line is going to be a below average, what we expected coming into this season. And then if they show some things in the passing game to where whenever we get back some of our wide receiving crew healthy, that maybe we can show something there and Jackson Arnold matures as a passer. But the run game, it's just really concerning in the run game, because if we want to play RPO as much as we're calling it and you have no respect for our running back, what the hell do you expect from Jackson Arnold and the wide receivers if the safeties are playing the way that they are?
Yeah. No, I mean, you're dead on. And, I think obviously the blocking isn't great, but you look at Gavin Sawchuk, 4 carries for 4 yards. Another really slow start to his season. I mean, just that's brutal. Javonte Barnes was decent, not really, 40 yards. It just something's got to change with the running game to open up the passing game. It's just, I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've got a thing that I'm sure other people have said this, but this is like my take on the running back room. I don't think I'm out on Gavin Sawchuk at all. I'm out on Gavin Sawchuk with this offensive line. Gavin Sawchuk plays a patient style of running, and he waits for the holes to come open. We heard this Le'Veon Bell all the time last year. Guess what? If you're patient and you're waiting for a hole and you don't see a hole and you don't get a hole, you're not going to make yards. And that's what's happening with Sawchuk. So that's why they went towards Javonte Barnes. Javonte Barnes is just going full turbo every single time he gets the ball. He's not waiting for he made a couple of good moves, but the majority of it, he's just going full turbo. And that's what we need in this run game. And that's why you see things from Taylor Tatum too, who's, he looks like the most skilled running back, but he obviously doesn't know where he's going half the time because that misplay that he had.
He's on the game and he's just got the stick forward before he even gets the ball. He's just sitting there stick full forward.
And you got to do that. Yeah. You got to do that right now, because if you're not going to get holes eventually, whenever you're running this inside zone, like Bobby made that point, and like everyone else has been talking in the Oklahoma media, if you're not getting the inside zone hole, then you just got to go. And that's what Javonte Barnes is doing. And that's why how many yards per carry do we average? I wish I could do it just taking out sacks. But like we average 2.8 yards per carry, not including sacks. So I let me do some math on it while y'all talk.
I mean, that's not good. That's really not good. And to me, what baffles me is, obviously you can't, like, teams are different week to week. But how bad Houston looked last week is just startling to me, like how they were able to make this a ball game. It's really frustrating that OU was not able to assert their will. And I know we had our concerns about the O-line, and they got the reports from camp, they actually look pretty good, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. It's I think you really just gotta go. You just got to go all out. Like Jameson said, you got to run downhill. But,
all right. So we lost 11 yards when it comes down to sacks. So that would give us to 25 carries. And then if you take away the 11 yards, then it'd be 25 carries for 89 yards from Jackson Arnold running and from the running backs. That's, if you're averaging around 3.5 yards carry, that ain't it. Mm-mm. That's going to stall too many drives. That's going to get you into too many third downs. And the way that this team has been this year on third down, we can't have that. We need more longer runs. The long of 13 is our longest run on the day is embarrassing.
Aren't the sack yards already deducted from Arnold's yards, Jameson?
Yeah. So what I did
you're just
is
cooking the books here.
So we had 78 total yards, right? Oh, yes. You're right. Oh, so I did mess that up. This is why I can't do quick math on the pod.
Quick math.
So
you would need to go watch the tape and see which one of those were supposed to be runs, I think.
No, but a sack counts as a run in college football.
Yes. That's what I mean. But you could go out of his 11 runs. You'd have to go look and see which one of those were sacks.
So if they did not get counted as a run at all, then we'd have, did I do it? So we have 28 carries for 78 yards. This is not good podcasting, but screw it.
No, because you're not deducting the carry figure.
I took the carries out. So that counts as a carry. A sack counts as a carry. Yeah. So there would be 25 total carries. And then we had 78 yards beforehand. So if we took away the minus 11, that'd get you up to 89. So I did it right. But it doesn't matter. Moving on. Doesn't matter. Whatever. All that matters is the run game ain't going to get it behind a poor run block. And if you're going to wait for holes to open up, they just aren't coming right now. And hell, good for, trying to get the good old Levy times. Throw back to Levy because maybe that might have been better this season. To throw some jet sweeps at the beginning of the game. Now, reverse and a jet sweep at the beginning of the game twice. That was pretty damn obvious. Like, come on. What's going on here?
I hate it.
I do. Maybe that's what we should talk about more, right? Because I think, at least from my seat, from my perspective, we give some of these guys, some of the receivers, right? We might give them a hard time. They're also not really, any of them on the field should be the first string of OU's receivers, right? That's
Deion Burks.
Here and there.
I don't know. Deion Burks is incredible.
You said this in our group chat and it didn't make any sense. Deion Burks is wide receiver 1.
But he hasn't been incredible. He hasn't. You guys can say he's incredible. Okay, yeah.
This dude's getting doubled the whole time. These safeties do not care about any other wide receiver other than him because they know that they can't get off the line of scrimmage and get open. We had, you know how many wide receiver catches we had in this game? You know how many? Guess.
Like actual catches?
Yes, actually. How many catches did our wide receivers have in this game?
Let's see.
I don't know.
12?
12.
Yeah.
And Deion Burks had 9 of them.
Yeah, for 53 yards.
Well, yeah,
but what do you?
Because he's getting doubled.
Because he can't. He's the only focal point of this passing game.
Yes.
And Zion Reagan's coming in is not going to be it. We've already are out on JJ Hester. Where Brennan Thompson is not designed to be this kind of wide receiver. He's doing his darndest. We don't have anyone else that can play a possession type of wide receiver like a Nick Anderson. We don't have that on our roster right now with these people healthy. We lost 3 of them in Jaden Gibson and Nick Anderson and Jalil Farouk.
Yes. Anyways, to the point I was trying.
I do not want to hear that bullshit.
He is not wide receiver 1.
That is so stupid. That is just so stupid. People are going to turn off this podcast if you actually think that. Because that is just unbelievably stupid.
Now, or everyone healthy?
Everyone healthy by far.
He in general is.
Let's move on to the point. Let's move on to the point that I'm trying to make. The players are not the issue with this offense, right? If you said one person who was at fault, to me, right, it's undoubtedly got to be Latrell. The play calling was ridiculous. Like you just said, right? The jet sweep thing is what triggered this. It's just continuing to do the same thing. I felt like we didn't really adjust anything, right? You guys might have some different thoughts here, but right now, this game, that was not it, right? And I'm not saying, we need to get rid of Seth Latrell because we had one bad game, but I don't know what that was from the OC side. I don't think it's a player thing fundamentally.
How about the other side of that coin? I think, Ty, that I agree. The play calling from Latrell is not sexy at all. But can he call certain plays if you can't get guys open? Does he have to be a vanilla because he realizes this offense is only capable of vanilla?
But it's if we're going to say, we can't get guys open, let's stop trying to send them, deep and middle, right? There's other pass things that we can do with the tools that we have.
They can't put their foot in the ground and get open off of a route, so you just got to send Brennan Thompson in a deep ball because that's just all he does. And then if Jackson Arnold moves up in the pocket too soon and he throws these balls, they're going to be inaccurate.
Which they usually are underthrows right now. And I think it's just you're very limited because you can't run the ball. You lose an entire half of your offense when you cannot run the ball. They sell out to stop the pass. It's just you're absolutely like it's just broken right now. And I think I'm with you. It doesn't look good. And last night I was absolutely raving about Latrell, and I don't know. I don't know how much he is limited by it. It's obviously not beautiful work by any means, but I think that's just kind of the problem, especially when you're so reliant on inside zone. That's just kind of how you run. There aren't other running plays. You're kind of limited. I think that says more about the offense as a whole than like the system. It says more about the system than actually like what Latrell's doing. But in terms of in a game to game, play by play decision making process, it's an overall macro thing, and this offense just doesn't. It's just not clicking right now at all.
Mm-hmm. What should we do from the passing game that you think would make an improvement within this offense? Is it try different guys, or do you think like different route schemes where like you'd want not as like simple one move things, you want them to have like more, unique route trees to where they can get open later in the play?
I mean, it seems like you got to bring it in tighter, right? Like faster, less on Arnold's shoulders, right? Like if we're saying, he still needs to develop. We have receivers that can't get open, right? We had some success with the tight ends, we can start to leverage more of that, right? There's like, who knows, right? And certainly they've discussed all this stuff, but it just seems like, I don't know that as we continue to, and a bunch of people, right, like 1982 said, simplify it, right? Let's try to get the basics right, because it doesn't seem to me like at the end of the day, it's on the players, right? Like they are what they are. None of them are bad necessarily, for all the jokes that we make and everything else. It's like there's not chemistry there with a lot of stuff, right? Like whether these guys are receiver 1, receiver 6, receiver 7, receiver 2, receiver 3, they should have chemistry with the quarterback that we just don't see out there, right? And maybe that's a quarterback issue, maybe it's not, but that starts at the practices, that starts at the play calls and everything else. And it's just, I don't know, right? Spoiled OU fan, not used to seeing an offense like this. We're especially spoiled with offenses, right? Like think about all the great OCs that we've had in the past. So I don't know, but I don't think it's necessarily on the players here, right?
It's a group thing. I'm standing by it, and simplifying the offense. I get it, but I feel like our offense is so simple right now. All it is just simple plays and then RPO, and the RPO are the things that are working, and it's because the tight ends are doing a good job. They're commanding respect, and playing 12 personnel is what I feel like is my answer. While we wait for Nick Anderson to come back healthy, of what I think's working best. Screw it. Just put Bauer Sharp at wide receiver, essentially, or put him like in the slot and play Dion on the outside, right? And, put Jake Roberts on the inside and continue to play 12 personnel, because I feel like that's where we got the most of our shine. And that's whenever like the biggest play of the game with Jake Roberts and going the little like seam route up the middle got us a touchdown in that conversion. Those were the two most important plays in the game.
Yeah, I'm all in on the 12 personnel. It's a little stinky having the double, tight ends out there, but I like it. I think it works. I think Bauer Sharp and Jake Roberts in a way, are effective at catching the ball relatively. And the added blocking helps. It's just kind of gross that we have to resort to it, but it kind of works. So, oof.
Oh man.
Oh my God. The comments.
Someone is speaking your language in the comments, Ty. Danny says no one's talking about the idea of putting 25-year-old Casey Thompson, who's used to playing with bad O-lines. I'm pretty sure you said almost the exact
That is exactly what I said.
He said
I did say that in our text.
Yeah.
I said we should put Casey Thompson in, and everyone attacked me. They said, no, we don't need to put Casey Thompson in. Arnold is remarkably better. And I said, yes, Arnold is remarkably better, but if you're going to say that the line and the receivers are bad, Casey Thompson's built a career on playing with terrible lines and receivers. So we need to that's his specialty. We'll put him in. We'll wait. We'll save Arnold and his ego for when the good guys come back. But no,
Yeah, I still believe in Arnold, and I do not want people to give up on him because this is game number 3, and he's shown some things that are good, and he's shown some things that are obviously young and immature and concerning. And I think his quarterback run game and his draw opens up a big part of this, offense towards like, yes, you're talking about Michael Hawkins and what he can do to extend the offense and everything. We're also running a little bit with Jackson Arnold here too. And I feel Jackson Arnold's arm is significant, and accuracy will be significantly better than Hawkins, even though we haven't seen it thus far. Give it some time, be patient with it, because this is the type of guy that you do not want to run away from too early. He needs this time to kind of develop his route tree and get a little bit better.
I think it is important to have patience here. Because, I mean, look, just think about where we were a year ago. We wanted to run off Jeff Levy. We wanted to run off Dylan Gabriel, because of a couple bad games. And to me, like, we almost make too many snap decisions, because if you bring in the backup, if you bring in Hawkins, he's going to make dumb mistakes too. Even Caleb Williams, as a freshman, made dumb mistakes that people completely forget about. Throwing into deep double coverage, stuff like that, just a couple mistakes. Freshmen and early players will make, or like, new starters will make mistakes. It just kind of happens.
And he had Marvin Mims to get him the ball out of his hands quick, like one of the best route runners we've had in the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, people calling to pull Arnold, it's a little too premature, but I don't know. We'll see how it goes.
And we said
it was
the same
not a good performance.
Spencer Rattler. I get it, but Spencer Rattler is a different story than a guy starting.
We were right about that one.
I was wrong. I was all pro Spencer Rattler. I'll stand up and say it.
It is different though when you have a guy playing for a coach who has turned everyone else he's coached at the quarterback level into just a superstar, and then there's one guy that's not, versus, I don't know. We know that Jackson Arnold is not bad. So I think it's insane, right, to cap off. It's insane to try to blame a freshman quarterback for what's going on here, especially with no credible run whatsoever. And then he's basically just playing teams that are only worried about the pass.
A lot of these first-year starting quarterbacks have growing pains. The problem is usually they get masked by other things in the offense to make them look better. We just don't have anything masking it right now. In a tight end group, once again, they are the best part of a group on offense. That is probably the smallest piece of the pie for most offenses around the nation, is the tight end room. So that's not the thing that you want to hang your hat on.
Well, in to your point earlier too, like that's also just something that there hasn't been a whole lot of game tape on OU using a tight end at all, and it might just be a forgotten about thing, especially when we put out our presumed to be. I mixed some words there. Number 2 tight end, and then he goes out there and catches some passes and stuff like that. To me, just seemed like some inventive play calling or inventive personnel use. Probably the only case that I can point to.
It's just RPO. Houston couldn't figure it out.
Might stop working. Yeah, it'll stop working. It stopped working in that very game. So, I don't necessarily know, right? I'm always pro tight end room, but I don't necessarily know if realistically throughout the year we can point to and say, okay, that is a position group that we can really rely on to get open into, right? We don't have like Gronk or Mark Andrews or Taylor Swift's boyfriend out there for us.
We can agree that Jake Roberts is offensive game ball MVP and kind of put a cap on this offense, right?
Right. Yeah. I was planning on giving nobody a game ball, but Jake Roberts deserves it.
No, Jake Roberts deserves it. That catch that he had in the fourth quarter to get that first down was big time, because Jackson Arnold threw it back behind him, back shoulder, and he full extension got it and a touchdown on that same play. Like, those are big time plays where if that's an incomplete, if those go off his hands, and I understand our defense bailed us out, but game's different. Game's absolutely different.
You can only get bailed out so much, but what a performance from that defense. And let's pivot to the defense a little bit here. That's the thing with podcasting about sports sometimes is, when a team's doing really, really well, There's weirdly not as much to talk about. It's a little less drama free. I kind of feel like that way about the defense because I thought they were damn sharp. Ty?
I do have to say one more real quick thing. Completely forgot. This doesn't fit in organically anywhere, but Jackson Arnold now has more touchdowns than OU has third down conversions this year, which is an insane stat when we're talking about a game where we put up 16 points.
Wow.
That's real. He has 6 touchdowns, and we have 5 third down conversions all year.
Yeah, we're not getting into even positions to even convert.
I don't know who you pin that on, but to me, that might be a play calling thing because we keep having to throw on 3rd and 14.
That is a massive problem, and I think a lot of that's because we can't run the damn ball. That we're getting these impossible.
But then we tried the same run play 2 times in a row for the entire first half every time we get the ball.
Right. Yeah, just throw it right in the middle. Yeah, just run it right in the middle. Okay, let's talk about the defense a little bit. Great performance. Outside of one blown touchdown, that got Houston their only touchdown. I felt like it was pretty locked down. Like it was legit.
Other than one thing that bothered me, I don't want to stay on the negatives because there's a lot of positives on this, but we saw maybe some old wounds open up inside of me of seeing our corners and our safeties give too much cushion, and Donovan Smith kind of just chipped away with these 6 and 7 yard passes in the flats. It made me think, I was like, you do that whenever you don't believe in your defensive ends to get pressure. And it's still a problem right now that our defensive ends aren't getting pressure, that I'm scared that whenever it comes down to it, we're going to just get chipped away in the future. But our interior defensive line is giving great pressure that you just got to cross your fingers and hope that's not going to be a problem whenever SEC play comes along.
Right. No, I mean, the interior D-line is just killing it again. Dominic Williams and co. And Grayson Halton have been awesome to start the season for sure. And you got to give credit to Donovan Smith. That was a pretty solid game. He's been hot and cold. We've seen some good games. We've seen atrocious ones. This was a really good one.
Yeah, he was cool, calm, and collected. I don't think he made many mistakes, and he didn't put himself into many decisions to make mistakes. He had the pick to RSJ, but other than that, I feel like he kept things really safe, and that's what you kind of need to do whenever the defense is kind of giving you those opportunities.
Yeah, no doubt. Okay, just talking about defensive standouts, Danny Stutzman, absolutely all over the place as usual. 15 total tackles, 12 solos. 12 solos, man. That dude's a beast. But it's what do you really say about it? It was a damn good performance across the board. Ty, what do you think of the defense?
Yeah, right. Houston helped us a little bit with some mistakes, particularly at the end. Their quarterback, we were sending the memes, a little stadium pulse thing from the college football game. But it was a good performance overall. I mean, it's going to be hard to sit here and say we held this team to this many points and it was a terrible performance, right? Under 300 yards would have been nice. Houston obviously had some penalty issues as well. But yeah, I think we saw a very solid defense. And again, like I said, I'm pretty optimistic on this team still. I think everyone in college football pretty much had a pretty down week last week. If you are out of the country or something and only watch the OU game, it was an exciting week across college football. So I'm not going to say, there's something in the water, but I'm pretty optimistic about them. And if we grade this defense compared to the OU defense that we've had even for the past 10 years, I don't see a whole lot to complain about, right? Obviously, Danny Stutzman, amazing. We got to give a shout out to Robert Spears-Jennings, obviously, arguably the MVP for the night defensively. But yeah, I liked where we were at. Yeah, some mistakes on the secondary, but in terms of an OU defense, very, very solid. I mean, you're talking about if we had this defense in 2017, but
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
I think the biggest things you're concerned about from the defense is like defensive ends in the pass rush, which we already knew that we were going to have that coming into the season. And then Billy Bowman just had a very weird game. Like, they called it on Kendall Dolby, but that unsportsmanlike conduct that Billy had, he just seemed like he was just like on edge, not playing, couldn't field a punt to save his life, muffing things. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. And I have opinions on the return game. And I kind of had these things to say at the beginning of the season, but I wanted to be an optimistic Sooner fan because I talked too much shit during the season in these pods. But Billy, that's the thing that's going to get fixed. We talk about offense. Like, I don't know how much can we fix. We might make some minor adjustments. Billy's can turn around and have a really good game. That just seemed a little bit off for him.
Yeah, it was very unusual. And, that's the thing is maybe don't put him out there. To return those. He was scaring the crap out of us all night. Jameson, you remember from middle school, our good friend Andrew, we used to have this joke that every time he caught a touchdown pass, he would like fall over for some reason, even when no one was around him. It was like Billy Bowman was trying to make it more difficult on himself.
Because he came 1 yard too far when he's trying to get these punts and these kicks. Like it's like he isn't fielding these regularly and catching regularly because guess what? He's a DB. Why don't we put wide receivers back there? And then you say that out loud and you start to think, why aren't we putting wide receivers back in the special teams return? Because we don't have anyone to go put them back there. That's why we have to get hurt. And Billy Bowman. That, and at the same time, who is actually going to give us production back there? Do you feel confident in any of these wide receivers to put them back there? Yeah,
Deion Burks only if he just like fair catches every play, but that's I don't know.
Do you want to just say we're gonna put back people that have really good hands, and we're not even gonna return things anymore? I'd rather have that than getting scared about Peyton and Billy for the rest of the season drop. I don't want to overreact for just the game, but Billy's thing is serious because that dude multiple times. I don't know. Was it windy? During the game?
I mean, it was standard Oklahoma wind,
Okay, so is there any excuse for him to consistently mess up 3 times?
It wasn't windy enough for that to be an issue. I'll say that.
Yeah, it's just a little bit odd. I want to give him the benefit of the doubt, but whenever you mess up your timing and where you're positioning yourself to catch these balls, I start to think like what's going on here?
Yeah, I don't know, Jameson. I think you maybe touched on maybe the real main reason out there is it's a different trajectory than what he's used to. Defending against pass plays, and maybe it's just a practice issue. Right? To me, like a lot of this stuff is kind of coaching, and this is not a Venables bit, right? But you talk about if the guy's messing up that consistently on just the same thing, like certainly this would have been something that maybe could have been identified in practice. Like he's firmly 2 or 3 yards too forward where he needs to be. Like that seems like a very easily fixable. Like you put him back there, he's returning stuff in practice. You're gonna notice the problem, and then just hey man, like I get in the hang of it. Wherever you think you should be, take a step back, and that's where you should be. Like it's just that just seems wild to me. Right? If somebody got injured like in game, yeah, but I doubt he got very many, right? Like unless
I'm sure that's just like you just do it for like 10, 15 minutes or 20 minutes in the practice, and they go back and they just focus on their main roles. Like how many reps are they actually getting? Because they weren't doing it in the past couple of years. Like, Billy and Peyton were great returners in high school. We know that. We know they have the skills to get out in open space, but they were probably playing more offense and being more of a well-rounded athlete than now that they are in the height of their OU careers. So it just makes me think, like, how many reps are they getting in practice, and how confident are we in them to actually go out there and make the right plays when it comes game time?
Yeah. I mean, that is the thing, is nothing you can do only so much to replicate actual game reps, no matter what Brent Venables says. And there's just, nothing like that, kind of going out there. So maybe it could be just, I don't know.
Knowing where to stand on a punt, though, is like, unless Houston's punter just knows how to kick like a non-unbelievable probabilistic trajectory or something and can just defy physics.
It could have been.
Like
it could have been something abnormal. And
the first ever curve kicker, like he can kick it with like a
like a wobble
right at the ends. Yeah.
It just fall.
It just corkscrews right at the ends. 50 yards in the air, totally fine, and then like last 5 meters, fucking
A little Corso moment, love it. Brett Yormark definitely put chips in the ball to make it bad. That's what happened. So, I don't know. I think this sort of thing can get ironed out in in film, and I'm not overly concerned about it long term. But that was stressful as hell. Do we want to give defensive game balls before talking about special teams, or keep talking about special teams?
We essentially talked about special teams. Let's just talk about the kicking game. And we already kind of warned you about Tyler Keltner that we heard things from this offseason that there's a chance Zach Schmidt could take the job. And then everyone went crazy. This is OU fans. We're saying it right now. We're doing it right now. Y'all never stay in the middle. And if you are in the middle, you ain't talking. People are too hot and cold as OU fans. You were ready to crown Tyler Keltner as the next great OU kicker after one game.
I gave him a graphic.
He is human. He is human. He can miss these things. That's fine. Let's not sour on him right now. He had a good game, then he had a bad game. We just know that he's not perfect moving forward.
Yeah, I was surprised with how many people were pissed at Keltner, because I'm like,
how are you surprised, Bobby?
I shouldn't be surprised. It's OU.
And you're like, I'm surprised because they shouldn't be. But then actually take the word surprise. Are you actually surprised that OU fans overreacted like we are right now?
No, I'm not. I'm not.
I will say though, it is important. Like he went out there. It was a fourth quarter, right? Like had he gone out there on the first drive and missed that exact same kick, I think people, even after the fact, would have a completely different thought process on it. I don't think anyone would be as hard on him as maybe people are. But all of a sudden, it was out there. It was like, we might lose the game if we don't hit this. And then everyone's already angry and looking for someone to blame at that point. And he just kind of went out there and highlighted himself. I don't think, the missed kick on paper, like I see where Bobby's coming from, right? Like I am also surprised with sort of the reaction he's getting. But when I frame it that way, right, like first quarter, first drive, missed kick, same distance, same everything else, I don't think he would be getting as much anger. So, right, again, and I'm preaching to the choir, like this is not revolutionary to anyone, but the bigger issue was that we were in the fourth quarter against Houston, who was supposed to be a 30-point dog, and we were having to kick a field goal to hopefully, win the game.
Being up at 2 sucks. It sucks.
It was just awful. Yeah, because you're just in prime position to get, beat by a game-winning field goal. But I mean, that drive, you get that interception, you're on like the 30, you're like, all right, here we go. Let's put them away here. And your drive is Javonte Barnes 1-yard run, incomplete pass from Jackson Arnold 5-yard run, missed field goal. Like that is frustrating. Because we had all of the momentum, and he just lay an absolute goose egg, just awful. Mm-hmm. But, yeah, look, I will say as well, though, overall with things, 1982 brings up a good point in the chat. It was a wonky week for everybody. They didn't lose. Not giving an excuse like this is going to be okay, or tell you like, OU, like really not that bad. You should be happy. But it's not the end of the world. College football is weird. Dumb stuff happens.
It wins a win. We won.
I disagree with it. The writing was on the wall in week 1. We worried about it, and then it compartmentalized and got even worse in week 2. I'm a man of trends. So if you're talking about big picture here, that's why I'm freaking out, because I'm disappointed, because like I had so many like excitement for we're going to Ole Miss. I want that game to at least be a little bit competitive. That Ole Miss team looks like a powerhouse. I don't want to go in there and lose by 20 because we can't put up more than 20 points versus them. And Ole Miss, we lose like 35-15 or something. I don't want that.
No, I think that's fair. You know, I'm frustrated too. I was ripping mad all the way home last night. So I
We should
get
just
it.
record that. We do need to do another drunk Bobby pod.
Oh God, yeah.
Put
No,
it on Patreon.
there we go. Yeah. Jeez. Yeah, the shout out to the 2 people who listened to that. But no, it was bad. And my thing is this team needs a lot of work. I don't know if they can get it done, but I think next week is going to be a really big challenge. And I don't know. You don't have. I feel stressed with Tennessee coming in 2 weeks, but I'm thankful that they're not coming this Saturday. So,
yeah, thank God. Is that like I want to move into Tulane, but I
don't know. Is losing to Tulane better than losing to Tennessee?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That's a good point. Can I still give game ball for defense, Bobby?
Yeah, for sure. Let's do it.
I think Grayson Halton deserves it again. That safety was such a key thing because our offense couldn't save us. The only way the defense could do it is to get them points themselves, and he freaking did it. Legitimately, the defense is like, oh, you guys can't make a field goal, or oh, you guys can't make a touchdown to put it away where the field goal won't send them off and they'll get a walk-off win. Let me just give you 2 points here. And so, like, it's got to be Halton. That play of cutting inside, beating the inside guard, and then making the play for a safety, even if it is a little bit shaky. I understand the rules of safety. We still need to learn a little bit more about it, but thank God for plays standing, and thank God for Grayson Halton.
I was surprised it was a safety. I'm very thankful it was a safety, though. Should I it's got to be Halton, but you got to consider Luke Elzinga, who with the
defensive game ball
there. Defensive game ball goes to punter.
Oh God, we're in this era.
No.
Luke Elzinga is the most overrated player on this team. My segment.
my column. Oh my God. No, but yeah, it's got to be Halton. I don't think. I mean, Stutzman obviously up there, great performance, but yeah, Halton was damn good.
I got 3 things, and I'm rapidly forgetting them. 1, overall game ball has to go to the refs, right? I don't know about that.
Honestly, yes. Thank God for the call on the field. The call on the field stands. That was huge.
No. Although I will say, originally on the broadcast, the original angle, real time, definitely looked like he smacked that ball. And I was screaming at our guy who was just standing there not doing anything.
Jacoby Johnson, I think.
Yeah. Second one. This is just a bit of a fun fact. I know Blake would enjoy this if he were here, and I'm sure many listeners already knew this, but I thought it was super, super interesting to me that safeties, and it seems intuitive, right? Because the ball's going backwards, but safety's the only thing in college football that's measured by the trailing edge of the ball, not the leading edge. If you think about like first downs and touchdowns and everything else. So really interesting, as long as the trailing edge of the ball remained at least touching or, to infinity, the goal line. That's what got us the safety there. So I thought that was a fun little tidbit for anyone who enjoys fun little tidbits. And then third, and most importantly, love the rule of 3s, the symmetry here. You don't get my defensive game ball unless you go by 3 names. That's right. In honor of DTY, give it to Robert Spears Jennings. He had a good performance, right? And then he had that awesome interception after Woody's got taken, not immediately after, obviously, but that just really upped the spirits. And that's, probably the one highlight reel worthy play that I can at least recall from this game. So besides the safety, obviously, I guess, but give me RSJ for the game ball for defense.
PFF agrees with you. Like, they had him as the highest graded player on our team. So that completely makes sense. And theoretically, that interception should have ended the game just like Grayson Halton's safety did. But theoretically, it doesn't work whenever our offense was what it was. So there you go.
Well, the interception set up the good field position, which only just immediately went to Houston, which set up the safety. So
there you go.
All tied together. He sparked the fire that lit the fuse. That I don't know. I butchered that. I'm tired, man.
If field position is going to win it. Oh no, what were you going to say, James?
No, mine's just moving on to a different question. Keep going.
Well, mine's also a different question.
Screw
Okay,
it.
someone
I don't
just give
care.
the question.
If field position is what's going to win it for us, do we just throw it deep and get Arnold to throw more interceptions? Kind of
He
the
did it.
Jackpot.
yeah.
That's the only route that Brennan Thompson can run. So I mean,
It works for the Bills in the NFL.
Hey, he can punt. We've seen Jackson Arnold punt before. You know?
Oklahoma State does
Hand
it. The
punt.
moon ball. That is an absolute. That is not just a Spencer Sanders thing. Alan Bowman does it, and it is absolutely Mike Gundy telling them to throw that ball to the heavens and then hope you get a DPI. Oklahoma State does it, and I'm not opposed.
Well, at this rate, why not? So, okay, let's move on.
We got the SEC bias on our side, boys.
That's all we need. All right, let's talk about our next game. The Oklahoma Sooners hosting Tulane, 2:30 on ESPN. Sooners 2-0, Tulane 1-1.
Thank God this is at home.
God, yeah. Every time I see Tulane, I'm just glad we're not playing them in New Orleans because they almost beat K-State and Ullman last night or yesterday, whatever. It was an 11 a.m. kick. But look, K-State stormed back. Tulane really probably should have won that game. They completely blew it. This is a feisty Green Wave team. We've seen them do it before. Last time they were played on Owen Field, they had the tiny little angry wave, and they almost beat the Sooners. So
why did we do that?
Because we were being nice to them because they had to. They're displaced because of the hurricanes. So we put them.
No, but it was so stupid. The tiny little wave. It was just like here's our little ode to you, and like, well, we're getting hit by a hurricane. This does not matter to me.
Hey, we also let them play their intro video, so it was a technical Tulane home game. But Jameson, are you concerned about the Green Wave?
Yeah, I am. I think their offense was something to where it should give our defense some issues, and they're going to put up some points. So it comes to the other side. We know Tulane's going to score. They're going to, be productive on the offensive side of the ball versus like Houston and Temple. I don't really believe much in their offenses. I really don't. I was not stunned whenever I watched them play. Tulane should give us a little bit more. And you take it down. It's like if Tulane, is going to put up double-digit plus points, like we can't go out there and do what we did on offense again. And you've got to see some improvement from the offensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no doubt, because this is an offense that can move the ball down the field. Their quarterback Darian Mensah is pretty all right, but that running back Mekhi Hughes, very very good, can really break off a good long run. And then good old friend Mario Williams, the old OU receiver turned USC receiver turned Tulane receiver, is back as well. He had a great game against K-State, 128 yards with a long of 47. So Tulane's got weapons. It's going to be, I don't want to say it's going to be tricky to stop them, but they're going to pose a much bigger threat than either team we played so far. They're not quite Tennessee, but it's a nice boost of a test as we move into the SEC. They're not quite that level, of course, but they're going to provide some resistance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think where we can improve this game and make our fans a little bit happier is establishing the run game and the short pass and like the screen pass. That's what I saw the most from watching Kansas State, where they really succeeded. DJ Giddens is obviously a very talented running back and he did well, but also what I noticed is these little jailbreak screens, these little bubble screens that did well. Can you count how many wide receiver screens we've had on one hand this year, Bobby? Because I feel like that's been a mainstay of Oklahoma's offense for many, many years now. I'm trying to close my eyes here. I'm trying to think of some. I'm not really thinking of many wide receiver screens, right?
Yeah, we don't really do that often.
I would love to see some short screen passes rather than, I understand the RPO is a thing, but if you're worried about the passing game and getting people open and getting, wide receivers, the leather touching their hands and them catching it, get them some easier balls to where we can get our offensive line moving in space and see what can happen.
Ty?
Who calls those? Is that Arnold or is that the receivers that's not calling us?
Okay, well,
All
like I
right,
said,
I see where you're
it
going.
is everything. And
Okay.
maybe Latrell thinks that these wide receivers, if they got the ball, they wouldn't be able to do anything in space. So he's deciding to screw it.
Just
Let's
not give them the ball.
not give them the ball.
He's like, but what if we just let's give it to the tight end instead.
I mean, that's a good solution too. Like we
Yeah.
just only gave it to him twice. What uniforms is Tulane wearing? That's an important thing to know.
Well,
Are they
I
wearing
imagine they're wearing white.
normal, their normal away, or is it an alternate? They have many alternate helmets.
Who knows with the helmets? I mean, you never know what combo they're breaking out, but because they don't really have alts, they just have a bunch of uniforms.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say that's an important,
I know this has nothing to do with Tulane, Ty, but Latrell, do you think that the game offensively was a good offensive game other than the turnovers versus Arizona?
No.
We put up some big numbers, and I feel like we played pretty well offensively if there weren't 4 turnovers.
Well, okay. Even
and
if
that was him playing.
Even if that's a yes, right? But was that his playbook? Or did he show up and there was a playbook there and it said, this is the playbook everyone knows. You just pick the plays.
That's a good point because he did not have it installed yet. So he was kind of working off of a bit of like what Levy was doing.
That's fair. So bring back Levy.
just use his book.
This is right. And so I'm like joking about this for this season, right? But is there a rule that says that we can't have a camera with an AI that can call plays?
There's absolutely. I mean, like, they do have the little tablet.
Like you should be able to have real world, right? Capabilities wise, right? The technology is there to have like real world, like coach's suggestion,
like
you get in a video
stats.
game.
I'm sure there's people
that's evaluating
that right now.
It's like, I mean, certainly the NFL is going to come out with some rule about it because someone's going to do it for 2 games and people are going to lose their minds. But
I mean, that's not a bad idea in the future, but I don't know how to feel about, using an Ask Corso feature, to progress as your GM. It would be kind of funny, especially if it had the Corso little sound bites in there, like the old video games.
Oh my God, that's a deep cut. I haven't thought about that in a while.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I think this is going to be an interesting test for the offense. I hope they light it up. I hope we see it look a little bit different, of course, because this was garbage. So we'll see how that goes. Guys, anything else for this week before we call it a wrap?
I mean, just a little hint on like the weekend spread for this game. What are we at right now on the line?
14.5. I've seen it. I've seen it float around.
It's moved down to 14 on ESPN Bet.
Who is making these lines?
No,
this should be about 2.5. This OU team.
Now 14. Yeah, well, TBD. I think we have thoughts about that, and I'm sure that y'all would like to hear us and what we think, how close this game is going to be. But 14 is an interesting number.
That is very interesting, for sure. So y'all can catch that on Wednesday. We'll have Boat and Blake back too, so that'll be fun. But yeah, all right. So that's our show. Very, very good stuff, guys. Hopefully we don't have to talk about an upset next week, but we'll see. Anyway,
it just seemed like a horrific jinx there, Bobby.
Well, speaking of horrific jinxes, 1982 brought it up in the chat, but I think I knew the moment something was wrong is whenever they brought out the giant Oklahoma flag in pregame, it was twisted up, and they couldn't
that was
fix
bad.
it. Yeah, that's a bad omen. That's a bad omen right there. So, yeah, I don't know. I don't like it. So hopefully we're doing better next week. Hopefully we're not wearing the unities because we're doing Stripe the Stadium, and that would look really weird. Could you imagine?
I don't think there's any way, shape, or form that this Oklahoma team can wear an alternative for the rest of the season.
But you know they're going to try.
Unity's at LSU.
Whenever
LSU.
whenever we're losing already so much and we are like, are already at 6 losses, they're like, screw it, Unities.
That's what we did. When we had our 3-game losing streak, we broke out the Unities for the first time. we beat the Bean Man in Kansas. So,
Oh,
yeah. Anyways.
Kansas are frauds without Bean Man. Listen to Weekend Spread.
They kind of are, yeah. But anyways, all right, that's all our show for today. We'll see you Wednesday to pick this game and the best from week 3 of college football. Looking forward to it. But until then, on behalf of me, Jameson, and Ty, see you next time. Thank you for watching. Boomer Sooner, everybody.